Hola, ¿qué tal YouTube? Hello YouTube, welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to do a little bit of MERN, a little bit of React with MongoDB, Express, Node, and a couple of things. It's been a while that I've done a video. I think the last one was either a live streaming or a Flutter tutorial. All of these videos have been in Spanish because the majority of my audience is Spanish speakers, or they are Spanish speaking people. But today I decided to do this tutorial in English. Why? First of all, so I can reach more people. The second reason is that I started teaching programming at a boot camp. So I want to put this content as an auxiliary and complementary material to that boot camp. That way my students that, if they're watching, hey, what's up? But yeah, essentially whoever wants to see this content, they can use it to aid themselves in their software engineer career and path. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. So yeah, let's get on with the video. Alright guys, so we're gonna start with the tutorial after messing around a lot with the audio and the video. You may see some dark spots, but it is what it is. So we're gonna start now. What we're going to be building today will be a MERN stack application that is MongoDB, Express, Node, and React. Also, I'm going to be putting this music, so I don't know, you guys can hear something other than, you know, myself, because we're going to be here for a long time, so, you know, just sit and relax and follow along. So what I normally do is start in the documents folder. Actually, I don't like this song. Let's change it. There you go. And by the way, it's free music, so, you know, it's not the one that I like the best, but it is what it is. We'll do with what we have. It's actually not that bad for free music. But yeah. Anyway, so I like to start here because this is a Node and React project. I can go to a Node folder inside of my documents folder, but you can create the folder that you want. Now, I'm gonna call this library_YouTube. That way we know exactly what the application is about, and obviously that it's specifically for, you know, my YouTube channel. So there you go. This should be totally empty, and let me there you go. So this should be totally empty. But I'm gonna go ahead and create two folders. So, well, actually I'm gonna create one, which is gonna be called Backend. Then with npx create React app, I'm gonna create the front end. So as you can see, I don't know if I explained a lot, but essentially we're building a library application where you're gonna have books and users that can rent out a book. You as the library administrator, you can upload new books, you can edit the books, you know, the books are gonna have also authors, of course, and some genres. I'm not gonna make it too complex, but essentially this is what I teach in my bootcamp, like one of the apps that we do in order for students to get in rhythm with what they have to build. So, you know, you can use this as a tool, or if you're a student and you're watching this to, you know, aid yourself. Yeah, this is the library app. We've done this a couple of times. So yeah, let's go ahead and start Node. So for Node, we're going to install a couple of things. Obviously, we need to initiate the npm project. So I'm gonna do npm init, and again, my computer is gonna be a little bit slow because I'm recording this. Normally it's a little bit quicker, but yeah, running the program at the same time. You know, the recording program and VS Code, it may slow down my computer a little bit, but I don't know. So I'm just pressing enter all the way. I'm not doing anything. Also, probably that's why it was a little bit slow. A Flutter package was trying to install, but hopefully after a bit it'll be faster. Okay, so by the way, this is a very common error. I actually had to go inside of my backend folder and do that npm init and not in here. So I'm just gonna remove my package.json and then go into the backend folder where it is where I need to start my node project. There you go. Alright, so again, I'm gonna do npm init. Same thing, it's going to ask us a couple of things. I'm just gonna press enter all the way. And again, my computer is a little bit slow because I'm running the recording program at the same time I'm running VS Code. And also it's installing the React app. So I did that on the background because I know it takes a while. We don't care about anything in this particular case, so you can just type enter all the way through. So, wow, my computer is laggy. You can probably hear the fans. I don't know. It's a little bit worrisome. I remember my computer being a little bit smoother before, but oh well. So we have our backend, and you should see a package.json when you created your npm project, but we need to install a couple of other libraries in order to get this going. And by the way, I know that it is a little bit hard to see my screen, so I'm gonna zoom in twice, that way you can see the font a little bit better. So I'm going to install Express. I'm also going to install Mongoose. I'm going to install Course, and for now that should be it. And Course is just like CORS. And let's see that this doesn't give me a couple of errors while typing. Alright, so it should have finished installing, and I did a couple of things, so hopefully my computer is a little bit faster. So I went ahead and installed these 3 libraries. I installed Course, Express, and Mongoose. And for now, we don't have anything other than like these 2 folders. The npx create react app should have been finished installing all the things that are installed whenever you create a project. I'm gonna go ahead on the backend and I'm going to create an app.js file. So I'm gonna open that app.js file, which is the only one on the backend. On the front end, we have our default or template React project, but we're not gonna see anything React for now. We're gonna do a lot on the backend, and then we'll hop in the front end. All right. So first things first, let's get this started. We're going to basically import all libraries, then set up connections, set up middlewares, set up routes, and start listening to clients that want to connect to our server. So start listening on server. So let's start importing all the libraries. What I'm going to do here is essentially get our Express library. Also, I'm going to get our Course library. So Course, what else did we install? Mongoose, which we needed for the database. Mongoose, and actually I'm also going to install one more. So I'm going to install .env. This is actually very important in case that you want to save environment variables in your project. So yeah, that was actually pretty quick. So my computer seems to be responding well. I'm glad. All right, awesome. So now let's start with the setup connections. First of all, I'm gonna create an app variable. I'm gonna set that equal to express. Also, I'm going to require our library that we installed .env and execute the configure function that comes within the .env library. That way we can start using .env. Why is that important? You'll see. First of all, I'm actually going to show you how to start the server without the .env file. Then I'll show you guys how to, replace a couple of strings that we have and put them on a .env file and make use of our .env library. Also, I'm going to create a gitignore file, very important. First things first, on our gitignore file, I'm going to put the .env file there and the node modules. That way we're not committing any of those two things into our GitHub repo whenever we do a repo. So set up connections. Here I'm going to connect to my database. And for that I'm going to need mongoose. So I'm going to do mongoose.connect. And I'm going to put the string to my database. I'm going to do mongodb / localhost. And I'm going to connect to my database, which will be library YouTube. That way we know it's like very specific to this YouTube video tutorial. So if all goes well, and actually let me lower the volume. There you go, that shouldn't be distracting enough, I hope. So we're doing .then and .catch. This means that Mongoose Connect returns a promise, and if the promise is successful, then we want to make sure that we can see that we are connected. So I'm going to put connected to DB. And by the way, this is from a student from mine, Andrew. He always used to put a plug, so I'm going to steal that from him. But hey, credit to Andrew. If something goes wrong though, we want to make sure that we know, or that we are aware of that. So we're going to type here couldn't connect to DB and put another emoji. I always like to put just an X cross, whatever. For middlewares, we're going to be using two things. We're going to be using course, because we're going to use that in order to share resources between the front end and the back end. So course stands for cross-origin resource sharing. So we're going to need that to share front with the back end, and vice versa actually. So yeah, that's our course. Also, I need to set up what is it, express.json? I forgot. I believe it's express.json. Actually, let me check my notes, because I'm doing this all from memory, but I don't remember everything, and I actually do suggest that whenever you're making a project, don't do it from memory. Do have your own your own notes. Okay, so let's try this. Actually, let's not try anything. Let's make sure it works. Express.json. Okay, so that is fine. Oh, so I was right. All right. Then here, because we set up a variable app equal to our express library, here I'm going to make use of that app, which by the way I already made use of it here. But here I'm gonna make a route, and this will be our index route, where I'm going to pass inside of a callback function inside of the parameters a request and response values. So what I'm going to say is I want to return a res.json object where it says message, I don't know, API works, something, just to make sure that this is working. And then the last thing that we need to do is start listening on the server, listening to any clients. So I'm gonna do app.listen. By the way, I need to set up a port for this. So normally I like to choose the 5000 for the backend port. I'm gonna do port, comma, callback, and then console log, server running. And I used to put the port number. I don't like to do that anymore. I don't know if it's like insecure or you're like prone to attacks or hacking, so I just don't put it anymore. I don't think it's that insecure, but hey, you can never be too secure, so oh well. Alright, so what I'm going to do, and by the way, if you guys don't have this, install NodeMon. So it would be npm -g stands for global, and use NodeMon. NodeMon is a tool that allows you to run node servers continuously, and if you change something, NodeMon will restart the server for you with the new changes taken in account. So yeah, if you don't have NodeMon, by all means install it. And that said, then I'm gonna use NodeMon and run my app.js file. So we should be, oh, okay. All right, so required.env, it's not configure, it's config. That's fine. So now if this is right, NodeMon C, server running and connected to DB. That's what I like about NodeMon. Once you correct something, it takes account of those changes, and you know, then you should have something running. So let's go to the localhost 5000. So there you go, API works, perfect. Okay, so now that we know that this works, then we're gonna start refactoring this with our .env file. So what I'm going to do, I actually like to run my application here on this terminal. So here, if I type ls, I have my backend and frontend. So I'm gonna split my terminal like so. And I'm just gonna copy the path. By the way, this is a command that I have because it's Linux. Essentially what I'm doing is pwd and then clip. For Mac users, I believe is this. I have to do it in that way. But then I have my path of working directory in my clipboard. That way I can navigate really quickly to where my projects are. Anyway, so here I'm gonna go to my front end, and here I'm gonna go to my back end. And then if I type the following, then I can see my backend here running, and then whenever I start doing React, then I can see my front end running here. And then I leave this clear to install and whatnot. Yeah. But anyway, so let's keep on going with the tutorial. Let's move on, and let's create a couple of folders. Oh no, .env. Before I do anything else, let's create the .env file. So inside of my env file, I'm gonna put some quote-unquote sensitive information. So people consider this as sensitive information. In this case, because it's local, it doesn't matter. But if you would be using Atlas, then that would be probably a good string to put on your .env file. So I'm gonna set this to mongodb_url and paste my Mongo connection string there. Also the port number, which is this one right here. I'm guessing in order to avoid hacking and whatnot, I'm gonna put it there. So that said, well, now I can get rid of this right here, .port. I can do process.env.port, making a reference to this variable. And on my Mongoose connect, again, same thing. Instead of putting the string that I had, I can do process.env.mongodb_url. And by the way, I know I'm going a little bit fast. I'm trying to take the least the least amount of time possible. So if you find yourself struggling to follow at the same time, just pause the video. You have all the time in the world. You pause it, type what I typed, and then you can carry on. Okay, so now that we have this, let's test it. And for this is the only time where you will actually have to either restart. Okay, connected to DB server running. That means that this port is being picked up, and also the MongoDB string is being read, if we can see this. So as long as you type RS, you're good. And then just to test that we actually still have our server running successfully. All right, so we have this route working perfect. So now let's create routes and models. So I'm gonna do the following, not that. I'm gonna create 2 folders. I'm gonna create my models, and I'm gonna create my routes. So I'm gonna have 3 models. I'm gonna have users, I'm gonna have books, and I'm gonna have authors. Why? That way I can search books by authors. In reality, there's not a big or important application to have authors in this example, but at least that way you guys can see how to make reference from one schema to the other. And if you don't know what a schema is, I'll explain what a schema is right now. So schemas are essentially like classes, but very specific to Mongoose. And Mongoose helps us create classes that whenever we use routes, we can search and update, search and delete, we can filter. There's a lot of functionality that comes with MongoDB and Mongoose specifically. So we use schemas in order for Node to work with MongoDB. That's the reason why we use Mongoose. And obviously, of course, to store all that data inside of our database, which is MongoDB. So we're gonna create our user model, and pay attention about the casing. Casing is very important. I'm typing this with capital U. So try to follow casing. This is the only time I'm gonna stop to make a reference to the casing, but be very attentive that if I type user with a capital U, then you should probably follow along too. And there's reasons for this. Whenever I type user like so, then if you do Control P, you know that the capital U, it belongs to a model. And you can see that this is inside of the backend folder, so you know that this file belongs to a model. Or if I do routes, for example, I'm also gonna create a user route, right? And if I type Control P to search my file, and I see 2 users, well, you know right away that the capital U is in reference to the schema. All right, so there's a reason behind all this casing. So try to follow along, it'll be really helpful. All right, so let's create our user model, and let me see if I can create something simple. Well, not simple, but you know, something. Coffee gallery, backend. I have a couple of applications to like support myself from, so I'm just like looking at all those notes. So I'm trying to make, well, actually user may user may be a little bit complex, but we're gonna do the following. I'm actually gonna leave this blank for now. Let's go ahead and create the book model, and let's create the author. No, not author, sorry, rentals. Yeah, sorry, I said we were going to create a author's schema, but in this case I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, we're gonna try to keep it simple. I'm trying to think. If I add another schema, then I'm gonna have, yeah. No, I'm gonna leave it like that. That way it'll be easier. So before I move on, let me explain the app functionality, which essentially, as you see, we're gonna have users, where users can register and rent books. Normally they're going to be of type user rather than like admin. There's only going to be one admin, which will obviously administer the or manage, sorry, that admin user will manage the library web application. Then obviously you have the books, which is the content that users will rent, and books will have, you know, certain properties, title, author, genre, number of pages, and you can add more. I'll add image, why not? But I'll do something simple for image, because you can do a lot of things. And then rentals. Why did I do a rentals model? Why not put the rentals in the user, right? Like, shouldn't it be just easier to put rentals here? I'm gonna explain why I did not do that. And this is because we want to, it's called normalizing data. And the reason is the following: because a user can have 1 rent, 2 rents, 3, 4, or n meaning 1,000. So every time you have a rent, you're gonna have to append an extra rent inside of the user. So it's something that we can do very easily is, instead of like appending a rent over and over and over and over, we would just say like, okay, the rentals is actually gonna have a reference to a user, right? So user ID, but also a reference to a book ID. That way, if we want to search for a certain, you know, all the rentals from a certain user, we just put final rentals and just pass this user ID as a parameter, right? And that way we'll get all the rentals from that user. So that is the idea behind of doing a separate rental schema. It's just a matter of organization. Okay. So again, pause if you want, take note of this, but I'm gonna delete this, okay? So now, in order to make a schema, and I'm gonna leave rentals at the end. So I'm gonna make the book schema. So I'm gonna do const. I'm going to the structure model, and I'm going to the structure schema, and set this equal to mongoose. Once I have that, I'm gonna start with our const book schema and set this equal to schema. Now this is gonna be an object, right? Because remember, it's kind of like a special class. And let me lower this. There you go. So there you go. So this is going to be like a special class where a book is going to have an author. So that is going to be of type, actually I'm going to put it like so, type string. It's also going to have some genre, and it can have multiple genres, so I'm going to put type array. Also, these have to be required. So required equals true. Genre, author, title, of course, very important. I actually want to put this at the top. So title, type, string, required true. Gotta put the comma there. So title, author, genre, image. Actually, image, I'm not gonna make it a requirement, but the type will be string, because we're gonna put a URL there. And I don't know, number of pages, just so you guys can see a different type of data. Meaning this can be of type number, which I'm also not gonna make it a requirement, but if you guys want to make it a requirement in your project, by all means. So now we have to export it so we can make use of this, and I'm gonna do module.exports equals model, and I'm gonna pass a string on my model here, which will be book. That's how it'll look on our database. And now I have to make reference to this constant that was just created using Mongoose, right? So I'm using this method, right? Or creator, constructor, whatever you want to call it, from Mongoose. So now that I have that, I'm done with the book and I can close it now. So now I'm gonna go ahead with the user. And in order to make use of all the user functionality, I'm actually going to make the user have certain functionalities, and you'll see right now what I mean by that. So same thing, I'm gonna destructure the schema method and the model method from Mongoose, and also going to create my user schema variable. So now schema, again, this is going to be an object. The user is going to have a name with type string, required equals to true. I'm actually going to put trim equals to true. And by the way, quick demo about what trim does. So let's say that I type Arturo and I leave this white space. What trim does is get rid of that white space. So we definitely want to use trim for the name. And obviously this is going to be required. Okay, required string. Yeah, that looks good. The next thing, I also want to put an email. Same thing, type string, also required. And also we want to trim the email. Now in this case, we want to make this unique. So unique true. Let me see if everything is going well with OBS. Yeah, looks good. Okay. So yeah, this has to be unique. Why? Because you can have a user that has the same name as another user, but the email has to be different. So this is why email has also the property unique. Set equal to true. Now a user, if he wants to sign up, obviously he has to have a password. So I'm gonna put type string. Obviously it's required, and I need to type password properly. And I believe that's it. Also, a user is gonna have a type of role. So what type of rights does a user have in this web application, right? So you're gonna have a type of user that it's a normal user or an admin user, and we can enforce this by using an enum. So an enum, what an enum does is it's telling the database, okay, so it can be of type string, but it's only constrained to either this right here or this right here. It cannot be anything else. So whatever you put inside of the enum, that is going to be like the valid type of strings that you can use. That's what an enum does. So it can be very useful to use enums. By default, if for example, whenever we create a user, we don't pass anything, then we default that creation of the user to a normal user, which is this right here. Like this is my normal user and this is my admin user. Now that we have the role, then I want to put, actually I wanted to do favorites, meaning favorite books, for example, but this will be like an afterthought type of functionality. So I'm gonna leave it there. If it works, it works. I mean, if we get to that point. If not, then I don't know. We can do that later, part 2, whatever. So now we have our user schema. The last thing that we need to do is create a method so that whenever we're returning the user, we don't want to show the password and we don't want to show the version. Well, the password obviously because it's sensitive information, so obviously we don't want to show that, but the version, it's just unnecessary. So here I'm gonna go ahead and create my methods to hide both the password and the version from the schema. What do I mean by that? You'll see right now. Actually, you know what? Let me show you guys how it looks without this. So I'm going to export this, set this equal to model, the string of how the user is going to look like, and then the reference to our variable. And I'm going to go to Postman just so you guys can see how to create a user. And I'm actually missing a bunch of stuff. I'm missing all the routes, so this is not going to work. So now is a good time to start creating the routes. And make sure that this is running properly. Okay, all good for now on the backend side. And I'll use Postman, but right now I don't even have routes, so let's start making use of the routes. Okay, so routes. what are we going to do with the user routes? In the user routes, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to be able to create users. That's the same as sign up. We're going to be able to log in users, right? So checking credentials. And if you would want to, if you're like an admin and you want to be able to assign things to users, then you can get all users, get a user by ID, delete users, update users. That's up to you. For now, for this specific type of application, we're not going to be doing user updating or deleting. We're just going to sign up and log in, and that's it. Maybe again, because I do have like the favorites functionality for the users, then as an afterthought, or if we have time, then we will create that functionality. But for now, we'll just focus on sign up and log in, and that's it. For that to happen, we're gonna need two other libraries, and the libraries are the following. We're gonna make use of bcrypt. So bcrypt will be the library that will encrypt a user's password, right? Because we don't want to save the password plain and simple in our database. The idea behind encrypting our passwords is, in case that we get hacked, that hacker cannot get the actual password that a user stored. And I know what you guys are thinking, hold on a moment, but if you have the encrypt password and you can use that, then what's the point of encrypting it? A hacker can use an encryption. Well, there's something in addition to encryption which is called salt, which is how many rounds of encryption do you do, and you'll see that right now. But it's not 100% safe, right? You can still get hacked, but it's way better than saving it in plain simple English, or without encryption or hashing. So I'm going to install bcrypt. I'm also going to install JSON Web Token, but JSON Web Token, there you go. So I'm going to install those two libraries. Yeah, there's we'll see we'll see how far we get. But let's start with this. So I'm going to create my router post. Well, sorry, I'm skipping a lot of steps here. Let's first get express, because for every route we're gonna need express. So const express equals require express. So we have that. And from there, I'm just going to create a variable router. By the way, we can call this anything, but it's a standard to call it router because it comes from the express.router functionality, hence the router. And all the way at the bottom, you know, like over here, we can do module.exports equals to router. All right. Now that we have that, we also are going to make use of bcrypt, which also comes from oh my god, from bcrypt. I probably need water. And also we're going to make use of our recently created schema user, right? So we're going to require this in our user route. So I'm going to do const user equals require model/user. Alright, so let's start with the sign up, just so I can show you how the sign up works, and then we can move on to simpler stuff, because I actually wanted to leave the authentication functionality to the end, but you know, it happens that we ended up here, so might as well like do it organically, because I have no notes. I'm just like going with the flow. So yeah, we have the sign up, so I'm going to do sign up. This is going to be an asynchronous route, which, by the way, each route has a request and response parameter, right? So this is my request and this is my response, and this is the callback that will handle that functionality with request and response. So what I'm going to do is, if you're trying to sign up a user, or if I'm trying to sign up a user in my using my API, I'm probably going to use a post request, right? I'm gonna put the URL later here, but I'm gonna put information inside of this body, right, where this is emulating a form in React. We will obviously do this later in React in Frontend. But here we're going to put the information. So in order to get that information, we're going to do const data equals to rect.body. Now, specifically for sign up, we want to make sure that the email is unique. So I'm going to destructure the email. That way we can test right away whether the email has been used or not. So I'm going to create a variable called test email, set that equal to await user.find1, and then pass the email here like so. Again, in case you guys don't know, this is essentially doing the same as this, because in JavaScript, if your key is the same as your value, you can just you know, get rid of that and just type it as it is. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. So now I'm gonna say, okay, if my test email exists, meaning there's already a user with that email, then I want to return an error. I want to return that something went wrong and that you know, whoever you're trying to sign up won't be able to sign up with that email. So I'm gonna do res.status500.json. I'm gonna pass a message that says couldn't sign up, please try again. Why am I leaving so little information? There's a reason, especially for hackers. What hackers try to do is, whether they try to sign up or log in, and they want to get as much information as they can. So if they run a bot and they see a bunch of messages until they say like, oh, a user with this email already exists, then that's like a cue for them that that user actually exists, and then they can try to move on and crack the password. So that is why we don't normally give too much information whenever we're doing a production application. So that is the reason why that is set up like that. Now, if this if statement was not executed, it means that the email is unique in fact. So we're going to create a user variable where we're going to say set a new user equals to request.body, meaning everything that we pass on our postman will be used to create this user. And then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to try to create that user where first I'm going to add some salts. And this is where I was trying to explain about the encryption. Whenever you type a password, for example, let's say that this is my password, right? Password. Well, what encryption does is it adds a character, some characters here, some characters here, 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 and here. Maybe even changes the characters that you had originally. Who knows? But there's some sort of formula and pattern that scrambles your password. Now that's only one pass. So in order to make this secure, you want to add some extra spice, right? You want to make it harder or a little bit more complex for hackers to crack the password. So you, instead of doing it that once, you do it 10 times. And that is what our salt does. So our salt tells how many rounds of encryption we want to do for anything. In this case, we will use the salt for our password. So we're going to make use of our bcrypt library and use the generate some salt sync. So synchronous is the method that we're going to use. And when we create our user, and by the way, this user.password, we're essentially getting it from the request.body, right? So I'm going to say, okay, user.password, set it equal to bcrypt hash, right? Because we want to hash our password with the request.body.password. And we're also going to pass the salt as a second parameter here instead of the hash sync function. So once that we have our password saved, we are going to return some status of 201, which means successful creation. And inside of the JSON, I'm just gonna pass my user. If there is an error, then I'm going to return res.status 500 and a message that says, I don't know, couldn't create the user, right? Couldn't create the user. So that is our only functionality that we have right now. That is the only thing that we're going to focus on right now. So let's go into our app.js, because right now we don't have anything connected in regard to our user. So where it says set up routes, instead of having this test route that we had before, instead of doing app.get, I'm going to say app.use some routes that I have inside of my route folder. So in order to reach that route, I'm going to do /API/users. And then I'm going to pass the file that I require in order to get that code. So I need to do / and then routes/user. And actually I want to change this to auth, to authentication. And by the way, you can name this whatever. This is actually the file path, okay? So now that we have that, we have our routes connected. Let's make sure we don't have an error like here. And Mongoose is not defined, so this in the user schema. So that probably means I did not import Mongoose. Yeah, there you go. So you guys probably saw it. If you didn't see it, that's fine. So I'm gonna do const mongoose equals require mongoose, and the error should go away. Okay, awesome. So now we can go into Postman and we can test this route. So I'm gonna do http/localhost 5000 API/auth, and actually I need to, what did I call this in my user route? Sign up /sign up. So /sign up. Now that is the URL. Now inside of the body, I need to put everything that the user requires in order to be created. So name, email, password, role, but not favorites. So name, email, password, role. So name, by the way, this is JSON format. So name Arturo Filio, which is myself. Email, so I'm gonna put Arturo@test.com. Password, I'm just gonna put something simple. Password 123. Role, I actually am going to put myself as an admin. And I'm actually gonna leave like that. So let's see what this replies. And this is taking a while, so there's probably an error with my API. Yep. User find one is not a function. Okay, so I probably have a typo there. Async await user const user require models.user user find one. Seems good to me. I don't see what's wrong there, but test email user dot find one. Module.exports router, that's fine. Express bcrypt. Wait, did I export this properly? Module.exports. Aha. Here's the culprit. I was just missing an S. Okay, so let's try that again. Boom, there you go. So here is the user with the email, with the password, with the role, favorites array empty, and this is the ID. Now you see how we are returning the password? We actually don't want to return that. And also, what's very interesting to me is that this is not returning the version. I don't know why. Normally it does, but we really don't care for the version. And we definitely don't want to return the user password. So for that, we're gonna do what I was telling you guys, which is create a method that will make sure that we're not returning the password of the user, right? Because that's sensitive information that we don't want to just give out whenever we create a user, right? So we're gonna do user schema.methods .toJSON. Set this equal to function. And by the way, guys, type it exactly the same. If you do an arrow function, this is not gonna work. So make sure you're using function in this following way. So I'm gonna do const password, right? So what we're doing essentially is destructuring our created user object upon creation, of course, and we're isolating the password and the version because we don't want to return this. We're saying like isolate this, and then like every other key we do want it, right? So like the role, the email, the name, and the favorites, we do care about those. So just give me the rest of the user keys from the object. So this to object, and then we just want to return all these keys that were saved or parsed within the spread operator, right? So we're just going to return user. Again, essentially just saying like everything else, meaning favorites, email, name, and role, return it here, and that's it. So I'm gonna create a new user, and for this example, I'm just gonna use my, another name. And I'm not gonna put a role here. You'll see how it will default to just a normal user rather than an admin, and you shouldn't see the password either. So, and as you can see, you don't see the password anymore, and the role is defaulted to user. Perfect. So now we have that functionality done. I actually don't want to make the login yet. Trying to think. Yeah, I don't want to. Well, honestly, it's not that long, so we might as well just like get it out of the way, and we're done with authentication. So login, essentially, what we're going to do is just make sure that the user exists, and then if the user exists, that the password that he's providing matches to what we have in the database. That's exactly it. So in order to make sure of that, we're going to do the following, and essentially destructure whatever we get from the body and compare that to our database. So as I said, we need to destructure the email and the password. Set that equal to rec.body. Now, first thing first, if the user does not exist, we don't even want to continue with all the other logic. We might as well just, if the user doesn't exist, boom, like you cannot log in. You need to sign up first. And we just return a message or whatever. So I do await user.find one that has a valid email, right? Oh wow. So now I'm gonna do if the user does not exist, or if not user, then return res.status 500, right? Again, we don't want to give a lot of information in case they're trying to hack us. So I'm just gonna put please check credentials. That's essentially it. If that sorry, got a message. If that if statement doesn't get executed, then we can go ahead and check now if the password is a valid password. So we're going to do something very similar to what we did in line 26, but now we're going to do const valid password. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to make use of bcrypt and compare it. So compare sync, I believe it is synchronous, with the password that the user provides in the body, right? Because this is provided from the rec.body. If that matches the user password, then he should be able to log in, and he's fine. But if the password is not valid, then we will return obviously a status of 500 and a JSON message, which again doesn't provide a lot of information, and that says that the user needs to check the credentials. So once we're done with those two if statements, then obviously, well, if these two don't get executed, it means that the user does exist and that he does have a valid password, and then the only thing that we have left to do is just return the user itself, the information of the user. So res.status to 100 JSON, and we just pass the user there, and that's it. So that is our login. Now, one thing, normally you want to generate a JSON web token. In a nutshell, JSON web tokens are tokens generated at that exact time in order for users to, I don't know, whenever they make updates or creations or deletions or, you know, requested information, you want to make sure that the token that they have is a valid one. That way there's no like funky stuff happening behind the scenes. I'm gonna put this as a to do, but again, I don't know, we'll see. It'll be kind of an afterthought, 'cause it's already almost an hour, and like, you know, we're almost done with the backend, but this could take longer, so I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. Let's see. Oh, wait, something valid in async function. Okay, so I was missing async here. Okay, there you go. So that should be working also, and we can test our login function here in Postman. So I'm gonna open another tab, you know, type the same thing, http/localhost 5000 API auth login, and then in the body, instead of putting all the other stuff that I had here, I'm just gonna type email and password. So the body will be raw data of type JSON. So name, well, email, sorry. And again, this is JSON format. Arturo@test.com, and then password will be, I believe we put password 123. Okay, 404 API auth login. So when this happens, normally it means that I have either a typo on my route or, yeah, okay, API auth /login. Oh, of course, this is a get. I need to make a post request. There you go. So here's the user information, and a difference, because I used to get confused with post and get. What is the difference of post and get? So either get or post or even put is gonna give you some information back, but the difference is with the get, you don't need to send anything to the API in order to get that information back. When you need when you need to give some information in order to get information back, then that is a post or a put, right? Because if we want the user information, right, which is the login, we need to send some credentials. So that is the difference between a put and a get HTTP request. Anyway, so I'm done with the authentication. So we're gonna go ahead and now create the books, and after that the rentals. So for that, before I move on, and let me change this on. All right, that's not bad. All right, so I'm gonna create this routes. It's gonna be called API/books. And I'm going to require the routes. /routes/ and here I'm gonna put book. Now we don't have that email. We don't have that file, but we're gonna create that file right now. So here I'm going to create my new file called book.js and start creating that route. So we need express. Actually, let me lower down the audio. All right. There you go. So I'm going to need express in order to make use of the routing functionality. And also I need to create a router variable. which will be set to express.router. We're gonna start with the get, so we're gonna get all books. Then we're gonna do get book by ID. Then we're gonna create a post book, which will be our creation method, a put method, which will be our update, and lastly we will have our delete method, which we're gonna have to pass an ID. There you go. So let's start with the get all. And also I'm going to do module.exports equals router before I move on, because otherwise we're gonna have problems developing this. So I'm just gonna check, no errors, okay. So let's try to do the get all books. And by the way, right now we don't have any books, so we're not gonna be able to test this until I create a post and create books. Anyway though, so I'm gonna do router.get slash just slash, because it'll be my index route, request response, and actually I want to make this asynchronous, so async. And what I'm going to do is create a book, set this equal to await book.find, and I just want to find all the books. So if all goes well, I just want to return a res.status of 200 with the, well, not the book, it should be books, it should be plural. Otherwise I'm going to return a 500 error where it says message couldn't get books. So that should work for the get all, but again, we don't have any books, so we need to create some books. So now I'm going to do router.post in order to have the creation endpoint. So I'm going to do router.post slash book, right? Because if we follow what we have in our app.js, it's going to be API, and I need to put that there, API slash books slash book, right? So that will be the same as whatever we had, slash API slash books slash book, and this is the same as slash API slash books, right? So once we have that, I'm gonna make this asynchronous, pass a request, a response, and then do const book to create, set that equal to await. Then I'm gonna do book.create and pass the body there. Where request.body again would be like the same thing that we pass on whenever we want to create a user, right? So we're going to request all this body, but obviously in respect to books, right? Not in respect to users, in order to create a book. So if everything goes well and there's no errors, then we'll do return res.status, right? We want to return it 201, meaning it was a successful creation, and a JSON object of the book. Otherwise, return res.status 500 with an error message that basically says, I don't know, couldn't create book. So that is my post route, and here I have my get route. So now we can test those two routes. So let's go ahead and start creating some books. So by the way, I'm gonna create a couple of books here. Hopefully you've seen some. Let me get the book model. So title, author, genre, image, number of pages. Okay. So title, author, genre, and then number of pages, and an image, I believe. Yeah. All right, so let's fill this in, and I'm gonna put LOTR. I don't know, just one. I want to make this quick. Or fine, I'll just do the proper thing. So Lord of the Rings, and then Return of the King. No, what is it? The Fellowship. Author J.R. Tolkien. Genre, and this is going to be an array of strings. So here I'm actually going to put my array, and then pass all the array of genres, which is like epic, fiction, I don't know what else. Number of pages is a number, so I believe it was like 700 plus, so I'm just gonna put that random number. Then the image, we can actually put a URL from Google, but just be careful because this is not the proper thing to do when we store images, because all these images are actually stored somewhere in like Amazon Web Services. The Fellowship, there you go. So whenever someone decides to stop hosting this image, that's when you're like, whatever you used, whatever URL you used is not going to work anymore. So essentially we're going to be using this, but same thing. You see how this is like stored somewhere, who knows where? Whenever this ceases to store this book, then your book is not going to have this URL anymore. So that will have to be another tutorial. It's already been an hour as it is, and I don't want to, make this more complex than what it's going to be. So for another day. But anyway, we're gonna go to Postman and we're gonna put that URL. So now we should be able to submit this. Oh, very important. http:/localhost 5000/API/books/book. And we have some errors, which means there's something on the backend. Okay, that's fine. So it says book is not defined, which is on the book.js file, line 18. So if I go to my book file, line 18, book. Okay, so I didn't import this. That's my error. So I'm gonna choose this. This is the auto import. So now if I go all the way to import, now it should be imported. And we shouldn't have any errors here. But we do, okay. Schema mongoose. Mongoose not defined. Okay, same thing for the book model. So I'm gonna go to my book model. I don't know why I keep on like missing that import. Const mongoose equals require mongoose. There you go. Okay, so we're running, connected to DB. Okay, perfect. So now I'm gonna go to Postman. I'm gonna make this HTTP post, and there you go. We have a book. So I'm gonna create 6. 3 are gonna be, you already know, just to make this easy. I have no idea the number of pages, but let's just say 500. And then the image, where was this? 2 towers. All right, so let's try to have some consistency here. I'm gonna choose this image. It's actually not secure, so I'm not gonna choose this image. Let's see this one. All right, this is a secure URL, so I'm gonna use this. Copy image link. I'm gonna put it here. All right, let's create that. Boom. The return king. Same thing. again, probably like 600. I don't know. Rings. Return of King Book. Again, we're going for consistency, so I'm trying to look for the same image, like from the same editorial. Alright, copy image link. So I'm gonna put it here. Actually, I may just do one or two more. Here's a Mexican author for a change, and a Mexican book. Which is about the Mexican Revolution, so it's fiction, magic realism, I believe. Magic realism, fiction. It's not fiction, really. It's historical novel. Yeah, I think magic realism and no, fiction and magic realism is not the same, but you know, it's definitely not real, so that should do. Pedro Páramo book. Yeah, I believe this is the book cover, or at least that's the one that I had. Yeah, we'll use that. All right. And let's do one more. And I'm going to do one more Latin author. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Now I'm going to do... What am I doing? It's not there. Well, actually, I'm just going to cut it and paste it in the author. Because I'm Mexican, so I like to put also Mexican, you know, people or Latin people. Obviously, Gabriel Garcia Marquez is not Mexican. I always forget. Shit, I should know. Colombian. Nah, yeah, Colombian. Yeah, I should know. Jesus. Yeah, this is the book. Chronicle of a Death Foretold. Crónicas de una Muerte Anunciada. Really good book. By Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So, what is it? Chronicles of a Death Foretold. So, Chronicles of a Death Foretold. Also magic realism. I wouldn't say it's historical really, but there's some like, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure if I should put historical novel. I'm actually gonna put cultural novel. I don't know. Like, is there's a lot of like connotations and references to like the culture in the town that the book is set up on. So historical cultural novel. I'm not sure. Pages. I believe this is a short one, so probably like 200-ish. And let's see some images. Yeah, that's the one. So copy image link. Okay. And this will be our last book. We should have, yeah, this should be enough. So now if I do my get request, so I'm gonna do http://localhost 5000 API books. Then we should get all the books there. And there you go. So we have the first, the second, the third, Pedro Páramo, Chronicles of a Death Foretold, and yeah, that should be more than enough. Now, so we have the books route. We can sign up, we can log in, we can create, get. So now what we need to do is be able to update and delete. Also, we want to get a single book. So I'm also going to do that before I move on. So I'm going to do router.get, and because I need to pinpoint a book by an ID, I'm going to pass this parameter as so. And by the way, this is like a wildcard, meaning we can pass any ID in the URL. And you'll see right now how that works on Postman. So request response const book or single book equals to await book dot find by ID. And in order to be able to find the book by ID, I'm going to do const destructure my ID from the request dot parameters, and then I'm going to pass my ID here. So if everything goes as planned, then we can return our single book with a res.status 200. And instead of the JSON, I'm going to pass my single book. Otherwise, we're going to return an error, meaning we couldn't retrieve it. So we're going to say exactly that. Couldn't retrieve the book. So that will be our get book by ID or get single book. So now that we have that, we are going to also create the update book route. So I'm going to do router.put and do slash book slash ID. So very similar to our post, but here we're going to do something different inside of the callback. So what I'm going to do is create a constant called book to update. Set this equal to await dot book find by ID and update, where I want to first of all pass the ID of the book that I want to update, the body or the content that I actually want to update, and then this new true option is in reference to whenever you make an update, you can actually see the old object, but we don't care about the old object because we already updated it, so we want to see the newest thing. So that's why we pass new true. Whenever we return something, we want to see the newest thing. So I'm going to do try catch and return res.status. Successful update is 202 JSON, and then return the book to update. Otherwise, I'm going to return res.status 500.json and a message that says couldn't update the book, and that's it. And deletion is actually really easy. We just pass the ID, and we do book.find by ID and delete, and that's it. But you'll see how we do that. So router.delete /book/ID async request.response const book to delete. Set that equal to wait.book.find by ID and delete, where I'm just going to pass the ID, which also very important, I miss doing this. So const destructure ID from the request.parameters, which we have to do exactly the same here. So const destructure of the ID do request.params. So now that we have that done, then we can do try catch and do a return of the res.status 203. 203 is actually a successful deletion, and we just want to send a message that says successfully deleted the book. Delete. There you go. Because we don't want to return the book, right? If we delete it, we don't want to know what we deleted. We just want to know it was properly deleted. Otherwise, we're going to return again a server error of 500 that says couldn't delete the book. Can delete the book. So that's it. That's all our routes. You guys can go ahead and, well, actually, let's go ahead and test this. So I'm gonna use the first one, the first book, which is Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, get by single ID, right? So if I pass the book ID, it actually only gives me that specific book and not all the books. So that is working fine. Let's say that I want to update the name to have the actual complete name, right? So I can go into the body, again, choose raw data as a JSON format. And here I'm only going to pass the name key. So name, and then let's put that there. And I'm gonna do Lord of the Rings, right? So that is going to be my update, and here we should see the update whenever we send that put HTTP request. So let's send that. That is strange. Oh, it's not name, it's title. That's why we didn't see the change here. There you go. So there's our change. That is our put. I'm actually going to delete it now, just so you guys can see the deletion, and we don't need any body. And there you go, successfully deleted the book. Obviously I'm missing a D here, but you can add it. So now I can go into my post for the book. I'm just gonna Control C till we had that. Alright, so we have that again. So everything works in our books route. Awesome. So now the last thing that we need to create is the rentals. And once we're done with this, then we can move on and do the front end part. And I know it's a little bit boring doing all the backend, but then we don't have to touch this again and we're done. And then we only have the front end part to deal with, which in my opinion is really fun once you have everything done. So let's go into the rental routes, and I'm going to create a rental file. Same thing, const express equals require express. I'm also going to create a router and set that equal to require. I mean, it's not require, sorry. It's express.router. And don't forget to export it. The rentals is actually really easy. So by the way, I changed to the schema. So now I'm in the schema where the rentals is only gonna have two properties, a user ID and a book ID, because that's all we want to keep track of from the rentals, right? So what I'm going to do is do const what was it, model and schema. So we're going to destructure this from Mongoose. We're going to create a rental schema and set that equal to the schema method that comes from Mongoose. So this is gonna have two things, as I said. This is gonna have the rental, the user, which will be of type schema.types.objectID. And this is going to make a reference to the user model. By the way, very important, whatever you put in here has to be exactly the same as whatever you put in the user model in here. Because if you miss the casing or you miss the spelling, then you're gonna get an error. So be sure that you write it exactly the same. So there you go. That's the user, and then the last thing is the book, which type will be schema.types.object_id and reference book. Now, I actually want to make this two properties a requirement. That way there's no way of getting a rental without a user or without a book. So required, set this equal to true. And same thing for the book, required true. So now I can do module.exports equals model, pass the string of how I want this to be stored in my database, and then make a reference to the rental schema. By the way, a very useful tool is MongoDB Compass. Just go to Mongo Atlas or just Google MongoDB Compass, and you can see you'll be able to download this. In order to connect to localhost, you have to do HTTP localhost 127.00.0.0.1, and then the port is 27017, right? So essentially this right here, that is the string to connect locally, okay? Because I always had a hard time trying to Google that whatever I have highlighted, ignore everything else. But if you have this, which is mongodb.//127.0.0.1 port 27017, then you'll be able to connect. This will pop up if you're in Windows like me, and you should see the database where we have books and users, and we don't have rentals yet. Yeah, so now what I'm going to do is, now that we have the rentals, I'm going to create the route or fill in the route. So let's go here, and we're going to do exactly the same thing we did with the rentals, but now with the books. So I'm going to do a router.get, and this will be my index route, meaning my first route in order to get all the rentals, which this will be async. I'm going to do const rentals equals rentals, so don't forget to import it. There I got the auto import myself, rentals.find. So this will find all. If everything goes well, I will return res.status 200.json and all the rentals there. Otherwise, if I get an error, I will return a 500 server error with a message that says couldn't get the rentals. So that will be my get all. Now same thing with the get by ID, where I'm going to do rental/ID. This will be synchronous, and we're going to do a request response. So same thing. Well, actually, first I need to structure my ID from the request.params. And by the way, I didn't think I mentioned this, but the way that request.params works, so this right here, request.params, the way that works is in Postman, whenever we're trying to get a single book. So for example, let me see if I have my get request here. All right, so let me create a new tab. So I'm going to do HTTP localhost/books. All right, so there we have all the books that we have in our database. And then let's say that I want to get my single book. The way we know which book we want to get is because we're passing this ID here. And I know you guys saw it before, but I don't know if you were aware of what request.params does. So request.params gets this ID from here, literally. And then we can use this ID that we pass on the URL and give it to MongoDB. For example, here where I do single rental equals await rental, right? So whatever I do with rental, I also did with the book. Find by rental should be rental. Yeah, this should be singular. Let me rename this. That's fine. That's fine. Let me see how I exported this. That should be rental. Okay, that's fine. So now I can do rental dot find by ID, and then whatever I got in the URL, I can use that ID to get that single rental. Same thing, if everything goes well, I will return the response with a status of 200 and with a single rental JSON. Otherwise, I will return a status of 500 with a message that says couldn't get the single rental. So hold on, actually I'm gonna take my hoodie off. I'm like cooking here. Give me a second. Yeah, I don't know, my AC stopped working or something, but anyway. Alright, so we were here in the get rental by ID. So now what we need to do is be able to create a rental. So we're going to do router.post, and it's going to be /rental. Then we're going to make the async callback. We don't need an ID, so we can only do const rental to create. Set that equal to await rental dot create, and then we just pass the request dot body. Same thing. If everything goes well, then we return the rental itself with a 201 status. Otherwise, we return a message of error. So return res.status return res.status 201 for creation, and inside a JSON object with the rental to create object. Otherwise, return res.status 500 JSON message couldn't create the rental. Lastly, we have the update and delete, so let's get those two things out of the way. So same thing as before, router.put /rental/ID, right? Because we need the ID in order to know which rental we're going to update. And then we're going to do const rental to update, set it equal to await rental dot find by ID and update, where we need to pass the ID as a parameter. And again, we're going to destructure the ID, right? Whenever we have an ID here, probably means that we're going to destructure it here. So rec.params ID request.body, and set that new option equal to true. So now that we have that, if everything goes well, and why do I have an error? Typo? Yeah, typo there. So this is async. So again, we're gonna have a try catch where we're trying to return the rental. So return res.status. So 202 is a successful update message. So rental to update if all goes well. Otherwise, res.status 500.json message something went wrong. And lastly, we're gonna do delete. So very similar to our put. So router.delete /rental/ID. We're gonna pass in asynchronous callback request response. Then I'm gonna do my const ID destructuring, set that equal to my request.params, and then do const rental to delete, set that equal to await rental dot find by ID and delete. And here we just need to pass the ID, and that's it. Again, try catch. If everything is successful, return res.status of 203, meaning it was a successful deletion. And here we don't want to send the rental actually. We just want to send a message that says successful deletion. Otherwise, return res.status 500 JSON message couldn't delete the rental. One thing before I move on, because I want to make sure that whenever I get my rentals, I want to populate, meaning, and you'll see, actually I'm going to leave it like that, just so you guys see what happens if we don't put the populate thing that I was about to. So what I'm going to do is create my rentals right now. And god damn, the lighting is so bad here. Oh well. I guess I'll just have a tutorial with that light. Whatever. Rentals, yes. So here I'm going to actually now go to a post, and instead of do API books book, I'm gonna do rentals / rental. Very important, I gotta make sure that this is actually connected on my app.js. So yeah, we don't have it, so let's create it. app.use /API /rentals /rental. Then I'm gonna do /require /routes /rental. Alright, so now that is connected. If we have that connection, then we can go ahead and create our rentals. So for our rentals, we need two things. We need a user ID and we need a book ID. So user, I only have two users, so I'm only gonna probably use, you know, the single user that we have. Actually, we have two. But, oh, this is why get users is useful. So I'm gonna go to the user route, and here I'm going to do router.get /async request response const users equals await user.find all. Try catch. If all goes well, then we do return res.status 200.json users. Otherwise, return res.status 500.json message, and then we say couldn't get users. So now I'm gonna go here. Should be with just auth. Alright, there you go. So there we have our two users. So I'm gonna use the ID of the first user, which is myself. And where's our post rental? So user, I'm actually gonna close this one, don't save. So now I'm gonna put the ID of the user, and then here I just wanna get all the books. Or, well, I'll just do a get all. That way it's just easier. So here we're just gonna get the, and this version, oh no, that's from, never mind. I'm tripping here. So let's just get the idea of this one. And here I'm gonna post that as book. So now, API / oh, that should work. Rental. Alright, so let me go to my rental route. Okay, so so we have a typo. Oh, I don't know why I added the rental there. It should just be rentals. So if you guys saw it, good. If you guys just follow with what I did, we basically don't want to do that because we want to leave that to the actual route. Where's my rental? To the actual route here, right? So yeah, we should, Jesus, sorry. We should actually leave it like it is, like so. So this is the correct, all the correct app.js. That is how it should be. So now in the, what is it, rental.js post. Okay, now we should be able to post something. All right, there you go. So we have the user and we have the book. Question, is this useful? Probably not. Why? Because we don't know what book is that. We don't know what user is that. How do we know what the rental is in reference to? And that is why we use populate. Because with populate, we can know what user is renting which book. So if we go to rental, here, I want to actually populate two things. I want to populate the user and I want to populate the book. So I'm going to do dot populate and I'm going to pass the book, and then my second populate will be the user. So now whenever I run my get all command, then you should see, instead of the user ID, you will see the whole user object. And same thing with the book ID. Joke's on me. Did I do it in the wrong rental? Dot populate. That should be working, but it's not. Let's see. Reference book, reference user. Interesting. User book. Let me see here in the rental. I'm actually going to close all the files so I don't get mixed up. So I'm going to go to the rental. Reference user, reference book, user book. Yeah, I don't see any typos of why that is not working. Oh, Jesus. I have a post. I'm posting the same thing over and over. Oh my God. Okay. I have my other get API books. Okay. Alright, so I think we have like 3 rentals because I like clicked it like 3 times. So if we have /API/rentals, let's see. Rentals is not defined. Okay. So if I go to my rental routes, Jesus Christ. Okay, now it should work. So you'll see, don't worry about this, I'm actually gonna delete this. This is my get route. If I do my get route, you're gonna see the book object and the user object rather than the IDs. Damn, alright. That's interesting. Maybe in the post I have an error. Let's see, post, rental, create. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I just have to go for a quick water break. Anyway, we weren't able to get anything because we don't have anything on the database. So that is why whenever we were trying to get the rentals, we didn't have anything. So I don't know why we're actually returning this, but then it's not saving on the database. So check this out. I'm gonna send a post request, right? That looks fine so far. But if I go to my Mongo Compass, which is where I can check my database, right, with a good user interface, now the rental, see how it says here? Whoa, what? No, I have 3? Oof. I don't get it now. Before it said 0, you guys saw it, so just kidding. We do have rentals. So then the GET request is not working properly. All right, so let's see the GET request. All right, so the GET request is, let's go to our app.js /API/rentals. So this should be /API HTTP localhost. I don't know, maybe I have a typo here, I don't see it. That looks good to me. Obviously we're gonna change this to /rentals. I mean, we're reaching the route properly because we're getting this message, but then it means that we're doing something funky here that we cannot see anything. Oh, I'm missing the await. Oh my god. By the way, I'm gonna do this right now. So I'm gonna comment this out, right? The populate. So hopefully we can see the rentals now. I was missing the await. There you go. So we have the IDs, the user ID and the book ID. Again, that doesn't tell me anything. So now I'm gonna comment this out and you'll see the difference now. There you go. We'll have the whole user and then we have the whole book. Now, very important, because I don't know about you guys, but whenever you're trying to get all the rentals, you really don't care about all the user properties and all the book properties. What is it that you care about a book whenever you're looking at it from a rental standpoint? So for the book, you only care for, let me see if I can do this. You only care for the title and the author. Let's see if that works. All right, there you go. So book, we only have title and author. That's all we care. And the user, we also don't want to put that many things. We can only just put the name. And if you want, we can put the raw. I don't know. Let's see. That way our rental response becomes a little more flat, so to speak, right? Also, we don't want to return the ID, so we can say, I believe it was this way, ID or underscore ID, set it equal to 0. So let's try that with just the book, and then if that works, then it means it works with a, okay. So not here. So let's try it in, okay, that, okay, because we have double comma. So let's try that there. Let's try not displaying the ID of the user, because we really don't care about the ID of the user. I mean, yeah, or, all right, so this doesn't work. I guess we can leave the ID. What we do want though, very important from the user, not the role, we actually don't care about the role, but we do care about the email, because that will be the unique identifier of a user, alongside the ID, of course. So that way we can send them an email in the case that there's a problem. We can say like, hey, you have this book, or you rented this book, or whatever. Obviously there's a lot of functionality that we won't have available in our application because it's been already 2 hours as it is, and I don't want to make this any longer than what it has to be. So we have our fully working API there, and I'm gonna start executing my front side of the app. So we're gonna start our React application. And you'll see in a moment when the React side pops up. So I'm gonna close everything inside of VS Code, meaning the files. So I'm gonna do Control KW or Command KW. Here I'm going to collapse. By collapse I mean like, you know, minimize, or however you call this, the backend folder. And I'm gonna go into the front end. So what you guys should see is exactly this. You know, a template React project. That's fine. So here what I'm going to do is the following. I'm actually going to go cd out. So now we should be in the library YouTube folder, right? I'm going to cd in. If this doesn't take long, sorry. cd into our front end. Wow, my computer now has been slow. It was being fast and then it slowed down. Okay, there you go, front end. So slow, wow. I don't get why it's been so slow, okay. Oof, so slow. Alright, what I want to do, well, taking into account that it's been very slow, so I want to install a couple of things. I want to install React Bootstrap. I don't understand why it's so slow. Bootstrap. I also want to install React Bootstrap, React Router, React Router DOM, React Bootstrap, React Router DOM. Oh, and Axios. So those are the only things that we're going to use in React. We probably won't install anything else. So I don't know how long this will take. It shouldn't take too long, but I'm gonna pause it right here, and I'll unpause it whenever this is done. All right, so BRB whenever this is done. So that took a little bit for me, but should be done now. So I have my application running on port 3000. Wow, my computer is really slow. Okay. Alright, so this is our React template. So first thing that I'm going to do is go to my app.js. Notice that it's capital A. And I'm going to delete everything that's inside of here. So I'm just going to put a div there. And I'm going to do, you know, an h2. I'm going to write an h2 and put, I don't know, library app. Just to make sure this works. Alright, so there's our library app. Now, the second thing that I'm going to do to make sure that this is working is going to my index.js, and I'm going to import Bootstrap. So I'm going to do import slash, actually, I don't think I need slash, yeah. Bootstrap, there we need the slash, I believe is distribution, css slash bootstrap.min.css. Now, if this works, you're gonna see the font here. Whenever I save, that font is gonna change. And let's refresh. And the font changed. That means Bootstrap is connected, and that is what we want. For now, this should do. Also, now we can make use of all the Bootstrap classes. So if I use container, this is going to be kind of like pushed down or contained. I can add some margin top 5, and you're going to see that going down. Okay, there you go. So that is working. Let me actually want to. Yeah. Let me move, because this is my green screen. Let me move it because it looks a little bit funky. Give me just 1 second. And I'm not gonna pause this. It should be. Jesus Christ. And I don't like the way that looks. Damn, that looks really bad. I'm gonna fix it right now. That's just like the camera adjustment. Like, of how the light is hitting. Alright, let me see if I switch this. I mean, it still looks funky, right? When I lift my hand, like there's probably like dark spots. But it's not as bad. Alright. There, yeah, it's a little bit more of it. It is what it is. Okay. So Bootstrap is working. So now what we want to do is the following. We want to make sure that we can retrieve our API from our backend. And what we're going to do is the following. Actually, one more thing. I'm going to install .env. So I'm going to let that run. And meanwhile that runs, before I forget, I'm going to go to my front end. And there's already .env files here, but there's not like a single .env. Because there's like .env local, development, test, production. But not a single .env. For that to work, I'm going to put it in the outmost part of my front-end folder. So I'm just going to put .env, and here I'm going to put react app underscore API URL and set that equal to localhost. Do I have to put HTTP or localhost? I forgot. HTTP. I'll just put HTTP. API. Alright. And if I recall, I need to restart this. So I'm going to restart that. So meanwhile that is loading, what I'm going to do is the following. And get rid of, none of that, but of the logo. So I'm going to make use of a state function. So I'm going to make use of a use_state function. So const, I don't know, books, set books equals use_state, and this is going to be an array. So that is going to be used by my use_state hook. So let's make sure that we bring use_state. And also we're going to use a use effect, which is the effect that controls life cycle in React. So actually, I don't know why I have that snippet, but make sure you also bring use effect. And essentially, use effect, as I said, a life cycle, meaning it keeps track of what's happening in a component, right? And it's funny that it's called life cycle, but just like, you know, life, you have some cycles, like you have when you're born, when you grow, and when you die. So I know it's a little bit funny, but or funky to you know, use that example. But just like in life cycles, in React in this case, you know, born when it's created, grow when it's updated, die when you destroy the state. So I know it's, you know, funky, but it's just a way of remembering easily what does a use effect do. So here I'm also going to make use of Axios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function here. I'm going to call this get books, like so. And I'm going to make this asynchronous. And I'm going to say const response, right? Because we're going to get a response from an API. Set that equal to await Axios.get. And again, we got to import Axios. No auto import. Okay, that's fine. So import Axios from Axios. And then here Axios.get. And check this out. So here I'm going to do the following, because we can use now our .env, and remember now from the front end, not the back end. So from the front end, I can use this variable now. So I can say const process.env.react app underscore API underscore underscore URL. So what I can do is set all that thing equal to a variable called API URL. And then here in my Axios get request, I can just do backslash API URL / books. That should give me something. If this works, then I'm going to do set books equals to my response.data. So why response.data? Because in the response we're going to get an object that is going to have a key data. That key data is going to have our array of objects, which in this case is an array of book objects. So if we make use of that state, meaning we iterate through it, if I do books.map and then I'm going to map through a single book, I should be able to render the book.title. So if everything goes well, we'll see some titles there. And I don't see anything there. Get books is defined. Oh, duh. I gotta pass that inside of the use effect. Otherwise, you know, that's good for nothing. So I'm gonna use my get books function there, and boom. There you go. Library app, Lord of the Rings, Pedro Páramo, Chronicles of a Death Foretold, Lord of the Rings, etc., etc. And here we're missing a key, which, you know, I can easily just pass the key here, right? Key book underscore ID, and then that error goes away. Okay, dependency, let me put the dependency. I remember using this dependency. Let's see, I don't think it'll go away. Change every render, move it inside the use effect, callback internally, wrap the definition, get books and don't use callback. Yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of that. It's fine. Don't worry about this. This works. Though, we install React Router and we want to make use of our routes, right? So we're going to make this application a little bit nicer, and we're not going to have a lot of functionality here. We're going to have here some routes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some views or a folder called views. And I'm also going to create a folder called components. So components are going to be, as it says, components, but components that we're going to reuse. And then views are going to be components that are going to be very specific for a, you know, as it says, a view, meaning we're going to have a home view. So inside of the home view, we can have multiple components. We can have an about view, where the about view can have multiple components. And what do I mean by components? So for example, and you can look for React components a little bit, but let me see. Let me get rid of that. If we go to YouTube, there's a, you know, a video component. Then you have this buttons component, the search bar component, the sidebar component, which is comprised of like sections, right? So a section component, an icon. So essentially, like, you could reuse components, and we'll make those components. So let's create a single component right now before we restructure our app.js file. So here I'm gonna call this a bookcard.js. So I'm gonna do const bookcard, set that equal to an arrow function. I'm going to return not div. Actually, I'm going to return a fragment, and you'll see why. Because I'm going to go to React Bootstrap. So if you recall, we actually installed React Bootstrap, and alright, so here React Bootstrap. And I'm going to make use of the card component. I'm going to go to components, cards. And I'm gonna be using this card, so it's very simple, a very simple component. So I'm gonna copy this, and I'm going to put it here. Let's give that some formatting, right? Oh my god, I'm trying to change a couple of things. Like the indentation, normally I have like 2 spaces of indent, but I'm trying to go with 4. See how I like that type of indentation. But anyway, we need to import this from React Bootstrap. So I'm not getting any auto import, so I'll import it myself. So I'm gonna call this card, and this is coming from React Bootstrap. From the same library, we also need to import a button, right? Because we're using button here, right? This is my button from React Bootstrap, and we need to export this. So export default book card. Now, let's say that we want to display something in our book card where the card title, instead of card title, will be the book title. Card tags, we can say that this is, I don't know, the author, and then here we'll say like view more, right? Because in the case that you want to see more details about the book. Now, how are we gonna be able to get the book object from here to our book card? Well, this is what we're going to do. This is the following thing that we're going to do. We're going to import our book card here, right? So there you go. Here we have our book card component. And we're gonna pass some property. So what I'm gonna pass on, right? I'm gonna set object equal to book, meaning the object property will have a book with a title and author, number of pages, images, and whatnot. So I'm going to make use of that object prop. So if I go to my book card, I'm going to destructure that object, right? I'm gonna say object dot what is it? Object dot title. Set that like so. I'm also going to do object dot author, and that should be it. And then the button, I'm actually not gonna use a button. I'm not gonna get ahead of myself, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. Then, yeah, that looks pretty bad. Let me see if I can put image source, and then there should be like a size property for the image, but let's try this. So I'm gonna do object.image. All right. Obviously I have a zoom of 200, so that does not help. But let me see if I can do. Let me go to React Bootstrap, and because I want to give the image a certain size, I don't want to like just let the image be as, you know, have the width that, you know, however it takes. And in this case, I don't see anything specific. So instead of card image, I'm gonna change this to just image. Variant, I'm gonna get rid of that, and I'm gonna give it a style here. So I know it's inline. Normally I'd like to create a CSS of its own. Actually, you know what? Let's make that CSS. I'm gonna call this book card. So here, I'm just gonna create a new file called bookcard.css. All right, and then before we continue, I'm gonna import bookcard.css. Boom. All right, so here I'm gonna get my CSS class, and I'm gonna say max height is gonna be 400 pixels. Also, I'm gonna say say 0 pixels, 15, 15, light gray. Also border radius of 5 pixels. Border radius of 5 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Well, you cannot appreciate it right now. Instead of max height, I'm actually just gonna put height. And alright. So they're all the same height. Actually, I'm gonna make this 200. Height, width. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna get rid of this. And then I'm gonna do put card image and then put those there. Still a lot. Anyway, by the way, this doesn't look good because I don't have containers, so I can do div dot container, div dot row, and then div dot column dash 4, and then put the book card in there. Where, by the way, I'm going to map only the whatever's inside. I'm only going to map like the columns. The container and the row should actually go in the outer layer of the mapping. I actually want to have, yep, there you go. All right. Sheesh. Alright, so the images, okay. So the images, the thing is that some images have different heights and I want to constrain that. So for example, the thing is that the, where is my class? Book card. Oh, what am I doing? Yeah, so that's fine. I should put, no, that's fine. What I should do is actually move this class name into the whole book card, or into the whole card container. There you go. For 12. So this is happening because the title is longer than this, so alright, that looks a little bit better. Then, okay, I don't like that. I don't like the way that looks. So, let me try this. I'm gonna do column 3, column large 3, column medium 4, and column small 6. That still looks pretty bad, in my opinion. Sheesh. Let's turn this to column large 4, 6, 12. I mean, that looks better, but yeah, I guess. Alright. So we can deal with that. Then we can put margin top and bottom 3 for each row. No, actually for each column. So I'm gonna do margin top and bottom 3. Hence the Y because of the Y coordinate. Then Where's my code? Border radius 5 pixels. I don't see any border radius, so let's make this a little bit more prominent. Let's put 9. I don't see anything. Yeah, I still don't see anything. Alright, so I kind of can see something there. Obviously, it's also because of the image. So I'm also going to put this inside of the image. There you go. That's actually very funky looking. Okay, whatever. That works. So there you go. There we have our library app. But now what we need to do is refactor this. So actually we don't want this here, we want this in a view. So we're gonna create a home view. I'm gonna say home view.js. I'm gonna do const home view equals return, and then export default home view. Let me see how long we've done, because I'm probably gonna stop it here and then continue 2 hours. I'll stop at 3 hours. That's fine. So essentially we're gonna grab everything that's inside of the app.js. We're gonna cut it and we're gonna put it on the home view. So there we should have everything needed. No, what am I saying? We actually also need everything here. We need the functions, we need the use effect, we need the use state. So I'm also gonna put this here, but this is not gonna work unless we import use state and use effect. There you go. So there we go. There we have use state. Now we need to import use effect. Then we'll have use effect. We also need Axios, so I'm actually gonna, borrow this. Also, we need the book card. And what else do we need? We can get rid of this. We can get rid of that too. And in order for this not to give us an error, I'm just gonna put app.js. Actually, check this out. I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna return the home view. And then here I'm just gonna save this. So cancel book card. Now, well, this is at a different file path, right? So now we have to do /component/book card. So we cannot copy what we had previously. It has to be like this. And then if we refresh, we should see the same thing. But now we're seeing it from our home view. Why is this important? Because on our app.js, we're not gonna be rendering any specific view. We're gonna do our routes there. So I'm actually gonna get rid of this, or in order for me to incentivize what I'm trying to show, I'm gonna create another view. I'm gonna call this about view, or actually let's do this. I'm gonna call this book details, right? Which will be like the single book view, book details view .js. Okay, I'm gonna const book details view, set that equal to an arrow function, return, export default book details, and then I'm going to do return about view, book details view. This has to have a view. Okay, so my question too is, let's say that I want to render the about view, right? So you go like, oh, well, I guess we can do the following, right? Sorry, not about view, the book details view. Which I think I put about view. It's not about view, I'm gonna put book details. like, oh, we just put that there and we have the details. Okay, what if we want to render the home view? Well, we can just do the same, right? Sure, but that's not the point. The point is that if we want to have this programmatically, we need to have routes. And that's why routes come to be in React. That's why they have a use. So here I'm going to make use of browser router, which comes from React router DOM, which we actually downloaded. I'm getting rid of this for now. Actually, I shouldn't get rid of this because we're going to use them either way. So might as well leave them here. But I'm going to call this view component imports, and then here I'm going to do import browser router from React router DOM. Then inside of here I'm gonna use my routes, which comes from also React router DOM, even though it suggests React router. And then I'm gonna have my single route, where it's gonna have a path. This is going to be my home path, and then an element. By the way, this is React router version 6, so it's good that you guys are seeing this. And I'm gonna put my home view here, and then I'm gonna close my component. Also, I'm gonna create another route for my book details. So I'm gonna do /book/id. And I'm gonna say element, set that equal to book details view, and close that component. Give me 1 sec. Okay, so we have these two routes, and what I want to do is the following. Oh, by the way, we need to import the routes and the route, which come from the same library. So routes and then route. So there you go. We're rendering our home view right now, right? I can actually, instead of library app, I can call this, where is this home view? There you go. So there's our home view. And actually, I'm going to give this also a margin top of 5. That way it looks a little bit cleaner. I think it does, in my opinion. But anyway, when I click view more, I want to be able to see only this book. So what I'm going to do is the following. In the book card, instead of using the button that we have right here, I'm going to make use of a link, which comes also in React router, in the React router library. So I'm gonna route this to book / and actually let me put this in backtext. So /book / and then the ID will be the book._id. Now what this will do is it'll take us to that specific route where we can use the ID from the parameters, right? So very similar to what we were doing in the backend. And then get that book by ID from the backend and display it on the book details. So view more, and then I can give a class to a link of a button, so it looks like a button. So btn outline primary, and link is not okay. The link component is not imported, so let's import it. Link from React router DOM. Book is not defined on book card. Oh, object. Because I'm calling this here object. View more. That looks weird as hell. BNT is not BNT, it's BTN. Oh my god. There you go. That looks nicer, right? So now if I click here, this is actually the ID, and we can use this to display all the details of that book. Now, very important, I'm calling this object or obj, but here instead of obj you can call it book, and then instead of object then you can say book. The thing is that I like to make the distinction, but hopefully by now you understand about this distinction. So actually I'm gonna leave it as object because I'm passing a book object, right? And I like to leave it that way because then people use like book equals to book, and then like people don't understand like, oh, which one is which, right? So I like to live it this way because I remember struggling with that myself. So hopefully this will help you. You know, me setting this different to this. Anyway, going to the book details view, what I'm going to do is the following. Also, I'm going to create a single book, set single book, actually just book set book, and this is going to be an object, so I'm gonna set it like so. And also I'm gonna make use of the use effect where I'm passing no dependencies. This is called the array, the dependency array. Here I'm having 0 dependencies. And now what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to create another function. So async, actually I'm going to make an arrow function now. Get book equal to an async anonymous function. And I'm going to say response equals away to Axios. By the way, we need Axios. So here we have the auto import from Axios. If your VS Code doesn't auto import it, obviously write it. And same thing that we did in the home view. I'm actually going to copy paste that one thing. By the way, do not copy paste except for like things like this where like there's no really added value to write it down yourself, but do not copy paste in general. You're just losing, you know, it's a valuable opportunity to get muscle memory, so try to avoid copying as much as you can. And I didn't want it in the book card. I don't know why I copied it there. So I'm gonna cut it and I'm gonna put in the book details view. There you go. That way I can just say get $sign API URL /books/book, and check this out. I'm also gonna use another constant. I'm gonna call this I'm gonna make use of the use params hook. Const ID equals use params. I think this should work. So we should be able to get the response from there, and then we can just do set book to response.data. If we get a successful HTTP request, so I'm gonna do get book, also very important, we should be able to see the book title here. So I'm gonna do book.title, and let's test that. Use state not defined, use effect, okay, fine. And also this has to be const. And let's import use state, and let's import use effect. There you go. Hey, there you go. Lord of the Rings. Oh, wait, what? It is a fine use state. Oh, that's a weird error. Anyway, Lord of the Rings 2 Tower. So that means that this is working. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna create a div container. container.emt-5. Alright, and then I'm gonna put inside of that the title. So what happens if we want to go back to the home page? Well, we can click this. What happens if we want to go to the view more? We can click that, but it's a little bit janky, right? It's a little bit scuffed. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go to the navbar components inside of React Bootstrap, I'm actually gonna use one that I use very often because I like the layout, which is this one right here. The one that says tag memes. Pretty hard to miss. Anyway, so I'm gonna copy all the code, and what I'm going to do, you guessed it, create a new component called navbar.js, and notice that I'm writing it like this specifically. This because we don't want to have conflict of namings. So please be very aware that I'm purposely naming it this way because there's a navbar component from React Bootstrap that is actually reading like that. Hence, I'm opting to write it that way. Okay. So I'm gonna create const navbar, and I'm going to return all that HTML that came from Bootstrap. Now we need to import all these components. So I'm gonna import the navbar from React Bootstrap. Same with the container. You know. So navbar, also the nav. Also, actually, all the nav dropdown I'm not gonna use. You can use it later if you're interested in it, but I'm not gonna use it. So let's go back to our application. Obviously here we don't have anything in use, right? The navbar is not being used. Also, I'm not exporting it, so export default navbar. So now I'm gonna go back to my app.js and I'm gonna put my navbar. Pay attention when I'm putting it, which is gonna be in between the browser router and the routes. Why? Because we want the navbar to be able to link to everything that's inside of the router, but this is going to be always showing, always displaying, regardless of which route the view is being displayed. So that's why the navbar has to go here forcefully if we want the functionality that we expect. Navbar is not defined, meaning we didn't import it here. There was no auto import, so there you go. I'm gonna put here layout components. So here's our navbar, and obviously this is not useful whatsoever. So what we can do is go to our navbar, and instead of React Bootstrap, I'm gonna do the following. Get rid of the href, and I'm gonna put a link there that links me to home. And also make sure that you import this from React Router. DOM. There you go. So this should work. So if I go, I don't know, for example, here, if I click home, it turns me home. Amazing. What else? So I'm gonna do the same thing with this. I'm gonna put a link here, and it's going to bring me to, I don't know. I don't have anything right now, but just for the sake of the example, you know, there's no about pages. And then on these other nav components, I'm just going to put more links, but this is going to take me to the sign up, and then the other one will take me to the, I don't know, login. And here to sign up, and the other one to login. So, and let's give a couple of separation between these two. So style, margin, right. And I'm gonna give this 10 pixels. There you go. So now if I go to view more, it takes me there. Obviously that's not very useful. I'm actually gonna close everything and go to the details. Okay, so H3. My computer's been very slow, so H3. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna put book.author. Then I'm gonna put an image where the source is the book.image. And what else? What else am I missing? Number of pages, but I don't know. I don't even think that's very important, but oh well. Book number of pages. Title, author, image, number of pages. Oh, genres. Genres is actually very important. Book.genres. I don't see the paragraph. Let's see what we're getting from our network. Where is this? Here. So then if I refresh, here's our book, the response, image, genre. It's genre, not genres. Genre. And there doesn't seem to be a number of pages. Alright. What about this one? I remember there was. Okay, it seems that we didn't save any number of pages, but that's fine. So I'll just put that like so, and then I'm gonna put genre. Jesus Christ. Okay. So the image style, I'm gonna put height no more than 400 pixels. And then what I'm going to do to genre is I'm going to say split. That should be an array. What I mean, split should be a function. I mean, unless I messed it up and it's not an array. Let's see. Yeah. Well, what I can do is the following: is map. I can do book.genre.map, and then iterate through each genre, and then just do G, I guess. Hey, there you go. And then I can put a key here. Or I can just pass the index and do key equals to I. There you go. Actually, I can pass. Probably I can make this a span. And then I can like wrap that map inside of a p tag. And then add a break. And then wrap this, otherwise it's gonna give me an error. There you go. Took its time. There you go. Looks just a little bit better. Let's see how long we've done. Whew. Okay, so we're not in the 3 hours mark, which is good, but I'm getting tired, so damn. All right, so let's try to do a creation of a book. Yeah, my screen is funky. We'll create a view to create a book, and we'll try to create a login and a sign up and have the routes protected. See how that works. So let's do that. All right. So I'm gonna close everything. I'm gonna go into a view and create a new file called add.book.js. So const add book view. View.js. Okay. There you go. Const add book view return. So this is going to be a div with a container class that is going to have a form where the book we're going to make use of some inputs. So it's going to be the title, the author, the genre, the number of pages, and the image. So I'm going to put a placeholder for each. So placeholder equals the title. Then this one will be the author. This one, I'm just gonna put the image URL. So image URL, and placeholder, number of pages, number. We can actually separate this. I don't know why I'm using camel case. And then title, author, image, number of pages. I'm dying here. I think that should be fine. And then a button to submit our book. So I'm just gonna call this create. Alright. So in order to reach, well, first let me export this. So export default add book view. So in our app.js, we're going to import that view. Import add book view from views / add book view. All right, let's try adding that. So route path add book. There's going to be a route, and we're going to set this equal to add book view. So also I want to add the link here. Obviously I'm not doing any styling for the navbar, but obviously by all means create a CSS in the navbar, get rid of the blue color, get rid of the underline, give it some spacing, change the font. I'm not gonna do it right now because, you know, it's already 2 hours and 40 minutes, and you know I want to have something, you know, substantial. So I'm not gonna add that much CSS to the navbar, but you guys by all means do it. So I'm gonna call this, what is it? Add book. Alright, so if I go to add book, we have our ugly form there. But let's go here and let's add some styling. So what I'm going to do is the following. First of all, I'm gonna add some margin top 5. Then in the form, I'm gonna do class class name equals form. I'm actually gonna add some form CSS here. So I'm gonna call this form.css. There you go. Yeah, I don't think it was great. All right, let's try that one more time. Form.css. There you go. Then here I'm gonna import that. So I'm gonna do import form.css. There you go. Every input is gonna have a form control, including also one. Alright, there you go. So I'm gonna do class name equals form control. It's not my ideal, but alright. btn outline dark. Alright, that's a bit better. Form control, what else I'm missing here? I'm gonna put at book. So h2 at book. I'm also gonna do the following. I'm gonna do form, so I'm gonna do border solid 1 pixel light gray. Also box shadow 0 pixels, 15 pixels, 15 pixels, light gray. Also border radius 9 or 8 pixels. I'm actually gonna put 5. Yeah, that's fine. Also, I'm gonna put a padding of 10 pixels. So I don't see any border there. That's because this goes in here. There you go, that's what I was looking for. So now also what I'm going to do is give a margin. So I'm going to do dot form input margin 10 pixels all around. That looks funky. All right, that looks better. Ish. 9, 20. All right, and also what I'm going to do with the form is max width 500 pixels. And also I'm going to center it. So margin 0 auto. There you go. Looking better. Alright, so I'm just gonna make sure that we can create a book because it's almost, oh, we still have 20 minutes. Alright, so let's try to create a book. Let's make this happen. From the front end, of course. So for that, what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to need to create state, which will be book and set book. And this is going to be equal to a object. So So I'm gonna need my use state from React. I'm also going to copy paste the API stuff from here. And that should be fine. So now what we're going to do is the following. We have title, which will be an empty string initially. Author, same, empty string. Image, empty string. Genre, that should be an array of. That's going to be tricky. Get an array. Okay, I know how to do. I'm just gonna tell like. Alright. That's going to be tricky, but that's fine. Alright. Genre and well, we said number of pages doesn't even work, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. So what I'm going to do now is create a state handler. I'm gonna quote, well, sure, handle change. So whenever we change the state of an input, we're gonna call this handle change function. But before I continue, I'm just gonna leave it empty. I'm gonna refactor this because we're gonna start adding a bunch of stuff to each input. So each input is gonna have the following. It's gonna have a name, right? So by name I mean like a name of the variable or the property, which in this case will be title. Let me see if all refactors. It was not what I was going for, but I guess that's fine. And I like formatting my inputs like so because they're easier to reason about and control. So yeah, you might as well, if you want, you can do the same. Value, this will be my book.title. So I'm gonna copy this because we're gonna do the same, but instead of title, it's gonna be book.author. Same with the image URL. This would be book.image. And lastly, we said number of pages. Did it work? So we should have 4. Title or genres. This is genres. Genres. Oh well, whatever. Okay, so we have that. Last thing, we need to add unchanged listeners to each of them. So I'm just gonna select the input word and do Control D to multiply select all the inputs. I'm gonna type here unchanged, where we're going to be passing a callback, which our callback will be our handle change. And let me format this because without proper formatting it looks weird. That's fine. Value. So now the last thing that we need to add to each, which I forgot, was the names, except for this one, of course. So I'm gonna put name and then obviously put each individual name of the property. So this property's name is author, this property's name is image, and the last one is genre. So now what I'm going to do is I'm gonna pass an event onto my handle change, and every time I handle that change, I'm gonna do the following. I'm gonna set the book state to, you know, whatever it was before. So everything that I'm not changing, I'm gonna use the spread operator, but whatever I am changing, I'm gonna do event.target dot name and set that equal to event dot target dot value. What am I getting an error? I don't see my error. It's a book. Yeah, I was about to say, like, it looks fine to me. It was just my VS Code taking long. So what can I do with that? If I type here anything, it looks good. And if you cannot type anything, it means that you have something wrong. So once that we have control of our state, I also want to submit that information to our API, right? So I'm going to do const handle submit, also pass an event. Make sure that I do event.prevent.default because I want to prevent the form to refresh before I submit the information to my API. And then what I'm going to do is the following. I actually want to do book.genre.split, and I'm going to split that by commas. So book.genre equals book.genre.split. Then I'm just going to console log book for now. Now, this in order to get the array of genres, because we're expecting an array on our API. So I'm gonna go to my button, also going to format it like so. And then whenever we submit something, on change, handle, submit. There you go. So let's try that. I'm gonna open my console. By the way, these are warnings. There's no error, so that's fine. But oh well. So I don't know. I'm gonna add this book. Harry Potter 1. Author J.K. Rowling. Image, some image.jpg. And genres is like epic, witches. I have no idea. Oh, okay, very important. This is not on change this on click, and I always make this mistake. So the button should be an on click listener, so I'm gonna do the same. Right, so we have that there. Author J.K. Rowling. Image text.jpg, genres, epic, comma, wizard. I don't know. So I'm gonna delete this, create, and here's our array of words. That's perfectly fine. Wait, hold on. What happened to the music? Oh, we went through a playlist, so I'm gonna start the playlist one more time. By the way, we're almost done. But this is working, and we can send this to our API. The last thing I want to do is be able to trim. Let's see if I do trim, if that works. Nah. Alright, so we're gonna leave it like that. So what have I done? I have created a string and then I split it by the commas. So here what I can do is the following. I can do in the placeholder say write genres and separate them by commas. So here I'm just gonna do let me see if I can also do it by white space. Wizards, I don't know, magic, whatever. Oh my god. What do you mean book genre is not? Wizard. I mean, that seems to work. The problem is that you have to be very specific on how you separate it. So let's say that a user does this, then what? Yeah, you know, you have that funky thing. So I'm just gonna actually put it like that. And then, you know, clean this next video, because we're almost on the 3 hours mark. So the last thing that we need to do is actually send this to the API. And that's all we're gonna do for today. So I'm gonna do, we actually don't need a response, but no, actually we could use the response if we want to. I'm gonna make this async. So response equals await axios dot post, and it's going to make a post to the API URL /books/book. Then here we're going to pass the book object. To do use navigate hook. Actually, let's see if we can make use of the navigate hook. Shouldn't be too hard. So I'm gonna do navigate and pass that there. Alright. So in order to make use of navigate, you'll see how navigate will work. So I'm gonna create a variable called navigate and set that equal to use navigate from React router. There you go. Alright, so an axios. Alright, there you go. So now I'm just gonna get a Harry Potter book image. Alright, Deadly Hollows. Copy image link. So I'm gonna go here. Harry Potter Deadly. I could have sworn it was like with O, like Deadly Hollows, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, Deadly Hollows. Or is Deadly Hollows, okay. Author J.K. Rowling. So there goes the image, and I'm gonna put epic magic wizards, I don't know. And then when I create, it takes me back. But not only that, do you see? Here we have our Harry Potter book. And there you go. We have create. Obviously, there's a bunch of things left to do, but at least, you know, we did a very extensive tutorial here. There's a lot of things, obviously, to work on. By the way, let's go to a home view because I don't like this error before we leave. So home view. So here I'm gonna pass a key equal to book._id. So that should be gone. If we refresh, there shouldn't be any errors. And what else are we missing? On the add book view, even though we're doing this and this works, the correct thing to do too is set back our book to whatever we have here. By the way, give it a like, and subscribe, share with your friends if you like this video, and I'm going to upload part 2 real soon. But for now, at least you have a full stack application. Obviously, we're missing the login, the sign up, and the protection of the routes, but at least you have something that you can work on with this. Okay, so I'll see you guys later.